Hello and welcome to another episode of Noisecast, the Noise Magazine podcast. My name is Piotr and today I will be your host, and our guest of honor is Mr. Paul Ledney of the infamous PROFANATICA, the pioneers of US black metal. I don't know if you remember, but I do remember. It was quite a memorable conversation for me. We actually talked a few years ago. It was like 6 years ago, I think. It had to be like 2018 or 2019 because after the interview, you've sent me the then unreleased Have a Hey album. And since that time, you released 2 albums and 2 EPs with PROFANATICA. And you released 1 LP with Have a Hey, 1 EP with the Bloody Apostles, which I would like to, talk later about. But in a broader scope, you could say that, there was a huge acceleration to all your projects in the last decade or so. And would you agree that's the case? And if so, what was it that prompted that surge?
I definitely agree. I think that the stuff that was coming out without naming names at the time, I thought I could do better than this, and I need to actually stay focused and actually see it through, even though it's a giant, what bands, especially young bands, go through just to get like a demo tape or something released. It's a lot of hard work and like persistence to see it through. And I thought I have people that are willing to release my stuff and, give me, even though it's kind of, we're on the small scale, some budget for studio and artwork. And I can't just let that go to waste, So that's one of the reasons that kind of prompted me.
Okay. So would you say that joining by Adam Becerra was like the missing, thing that finally enabled you to functionally release one release after another, like not, in a serious type of way. I'm not talking like production style, but was he the missing link, in a way?
No.
Okay.
I mean, he played guitar for us and he wrote basically 98% of Rotting Incarnation of God, but we had like a good writing relationship, if you will. Mm-hmm. But had I not found him, I probably would have do what I did and found another guitarist.
Okay, so would you say like this was like the time in your life that you felt that you couldn't, miss the opportunity window, or?
Yeah, kind of, because nobody's getting any younger. Yeah. And so it just so happens that when we grabbed Adam, who was amazing on guitar, he's like a machine. That was like that at that same time I had that feeling of we should do this because nobody really knows what's going to happen.
Sure. So, how big part of your life exactly PROFANATICA is these days? But I know that you did quite an extensive tour through the US this summer, and now you're coming to Europe. So, is it like a full-time thing? And how do you, balance it with your life, like being parent and your other creative ventures?
I'll say if I had to pick, it's probably like 85%. So it's, I have to work during the day still, but I'm working on something with the band like every single day. So like I'll work during the day and then maybe try to do an interview or some writing in the evening. So there's something to do with the band like every day. It's been like that for, let's say, the last 2 years that I need to put something a little more effort or energy into.
Would you be comfortable with sharing what do you do like on a day-to-day basis?
I work at like a screen printing facility for like t-shirts and signs. That's kind of been my and like art and design as well, but that's kind of been my background.
Shit, that's interesting. I wouldn't expect that. But another thing is you rarely expect what people do. Like I've been meeting guys doing absolutely like madly diverse stuff for the daily job. So what would you say was happened during? What would you say happened during those last 2 years that really enabled you to give that band the energy you put into it?
Honestly, it kind of started like what really did it was that we played Hell's Head Bash, the second one, and some of our members at the time were not like up to the task and didn't prepare like they should, and the result was, I feel, we had like a really poor outing since we've been away for so long. And I didn't want people, like, it was clear that I'd been just going on autopilot, and I didn't want to use the name for that and just have a standard. Yeah, this is good. It's new Profanatica. It sounds like Profanatica. The cover's good, but nothing really great. And I knew eventually I could create something like Reeds and Dead Angels had I like really put my mind to it. So that EP is, for me, is the ultimate Profanatica. It's got some old feel, some new feel. It sounds like us. It looks like us. It has like that vibe. I wanted like new and older fans to be able to relate to it without changing our style or concept in any way.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned it, because when I was looking when one does look up your stuff, on YouTube or over the internet, it is not uncommon to come across a comment that basically says, "This sounds like like every other Profanatica song or album, and I love it for it." And I don't agree exactly with the statement myself, but there is certain consequence and certain consistency to how you write your music. And I'm curious, like, you have your very, very distinct style of writing, of approaching the sound. And I'm curious, how was it forged? How did you find yourself? How did you figure out who you are musically? Because from what I'm getting, you had to like take a step back during recording this EP and not exactly reinvent yourself, but find your true self, like to make it, worth the energy again, worth the attention you're putting it in.
Yeah. So this is really, it's kind of difficult to put into words, but I'll say the whole thing stems from like our punk background. Whereas another band might say, we need a little part to go from this part to that part. I might say, fuck it. Let's just do the same part twice. And this is nobody's business but ours. And this is what we like. If I had to say something about that, it would probably be that's how it happened. Because there's in a lot of our songs, you'll have like the riff going. And I know some of our stuff is abrasive and monotonous, but there'll be like a certain riff going, and I'll actually keep the riff but switch up drum beats. We're kind of honoring the riff by saying we don't need another part. This thing is so good on its own that we believe in it 100%. We're just gonna keep this riff going, if that makes sense. So
yeah, it does absolutely. Actually, would you be willing to talk about the punk background a little bit more? Because in every single interview I watched with you, like, there's of course subject of the US black metal and other contemporaries of yours and so on, and how there are two distinct black metals, like the European one and American one. But what I find lacking in these interviews is actually expanding on your punk background, because even though there's a lot of you talking about how you grew up with, for example, Black Sabbath and Priest, well, you only rarely mention the punk music, but it's evidently ingrained in your music, in your art, and it's as much as about it is attitude as it is about the sound and songwriting as well.
all right. So when we would let's say, go to rehearsals, like band rehearsals,
Mm-hmm.
we were always a three-piece, no matter who was in it for the most part. We would be listening to punk and hardcore like in the car on the way to record, or it just kind of happened. It was kind of natural. Like we would put that in. Now, of course, we listened to like Hellhammer and the First Battery and Possessed Seven Churches and all of that, but our go-to stuff was always punk. And I guess it stemmed, I want to say, back in the mid 80s. I saw Slayer live and was kind of shocked at how good they were and how pro, and thought, oh my God, it would be awesome if I could do something like that one day, right? Because I was a kid, I played drums.
Of course.
After that, I think I went to my first punk show, and after I saw how the crowd behaved and the energy in the crowd, me and our old guitarist thought, this is the real deal. We thought we knew it, but this is like kind of the next step. So the people and the crowd, not to say anything like bad about metalheads, but they had like a different understanding of that feel the music could give you than the metal crowd.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first punk shows I saw was Dr. No, this band from California, and I was talking to the guitar player outside, and didn't even know he was the guitar player. We were just talking about different bands and shit, and then they got up and just destroyed the place. So for us, what we want out of music, and like when we go see a band or play, is like that whole punk mindset was way, at least at the time, way ahead of like the average metal mindset.
Sure.
Plus them going a lot harder on their instruments and the crowd going a lot harder. That helps.
Yeah, I've picked up that you really, really appreciate when the audience is going wild and not just, standing there with their arms folded.
I hate it. I'm dreading it. We're coming over soon. And yeah, I don't want to name any places, but it's bound to happen.
You already did with the interview with J-Dog, the Spain, the infamous Spanish shows. But I can't, speak for Poland exactly because it's a really, really roulette. I'd say myself, I'm the, arms kind of folded guy. So, but anyway, do any particular... Yeah.
Let me just say that Poland's really good for us. Italy's good, always. Like those two places are most exciting to play, and of course we're playing the Summoning of Darkness in Sweden, and that's going to be really good. And also Prague is pretty good for us.
Are you playing on the Death Mass Prague event? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. That's a dream lineup right there.
Yeah, I think so too. I love that. And when I say good, I mean the people are there. They like us. They know our material, and they're kind of like, okay, this is what we wanted out of this. So my whole thing is like, we need to capture the soul live of what Profanatica is, and we just can't do that if everybody's not together on the same page. And I get that some people are new and they heard, oh, you got to check these guys out, they're cool, and then they go to check it out, and that's fine. But on the second time of us seeing us with us, they need to be raging. They can't just stand there each time. And also filming our set is another thing that makes me like just fucking crazy.
Well, I think it's unavoidable these days.
Yeah, it is. I'm still complaining about it. And, my wife was like, it's like you want a car with no tires on it. And I'm like, I get it. But like, if somebody's filming, talked about this like 10 minutes ago. If somebody's filming a couple of songs or a clip, but they stand there with their phones out, smiling, chatting with their friends. And I'm like, pretty much like, fuck you. And we have like kind of hidden signals to mean like, get that phone. And sometimes we can't slap it out of somebody's hand because of like what's going on in the song.
So that's a warning to anyone who will attempt to grab some footage of you. Okay.
I mean, they can. I just said to like in my last interview, it may be time to Gigi Allen style. It maybe just run through the drums into the crowd. But so here's something to go back. This is something that I'll mention that to go deeper into the punk roots. When we play, it's not us playing for the crowd. It should be all of us kind of together as one. And that's the main thing I got from the whole punk scene. Is not we're on stage and you're the audience and you clap when we're done. It's we're kind of all there together enjoying it.
I gotta say that's quite not black metal from the Europeanist,
it's so not.
Yeah.
It's so not. And it's just like, that's kind of how we roll. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, I like that. I like meeting people and signing stuff. We'll never, that's another thing like that J-Dog brought up, like these people charging for like meet and greet sessions. I don't get that.
Yeah, that's a rotten business.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just not that type of person. I get it. They hate it so much that they're charging a lot of money.
Well, it could be that, or it could be, also the amount of what's actually doable. Because I imagine, I don't know, like 5,000 people or something shows up at the venue.
Sure.
You have to,
for a bigger band, but not like a polished death metal band. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like they could take 10 minutes and sign some shit and
of course
take pictures. Because, I mean, that's why we're there ultimately.
So a lot of people doing meet and greets. I paid meet and greets on, like, I don't know, underground level as well, because...
They are.
Oh, sure. Because I've only heard about one case of this, Batuszka, the Polish band, doing this. But there's a whole rotten story to this, so I won't get into it. I won't get into it. Yeah. But going back to the punks stuff, I wanted to ask if you have any particular names to drop, maybe, and did the local scene played any significance in shaping that background? Because if I remember correctly, you're from the East Coast, Delaware or Connecticut, right?
Yep. Connecticut. So
yeah.
No locals didn't play a part.
Mm-hmm.
Local, we didn't know the people. So the stuff that we were into and we're still into was, of course, like heavy Poison Idea, that band Siege from Boston, which was like 2 hours away, but I never saw them and didn't really know those guys. So that was the kind of style that we gravitated towards. Of course, like when the Repulsion, that tape started getting traded, this kind of band from Jersey, Lethal Aggression, they really influenced us. And it was more of like the heavier, faster punk, like the first DRI, that EP, Cryptic Slaughter. So it was more the aggressive type stuff and not New York hardcore really at all, except there was this band that we really liked, New York City Mayhem. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Nope, I will check them out.
Check it out. It's kind of way ahead of its time. It was, I hate terms, but it's kind of like was like deathcore, fast hardcore.
Deathcore? Oh, you scared me off right there.
Yeah, but I don't know what that's
no, just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, we called it that, let's say, in 1985.
Okay, that's a
different, it's a, it's different. A totally different thing.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, so there was some bands that played hardcore, but had like some violent or maybe evil topics that they sang about, but it sounded like punk / hardcore.
Okay, that actually sounds sick.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, continuing on with the punk themes. 2 years ago, you released the Bloody Apostles EP, and I believe some of our listeners, some of your fans are familiar with the whole Gigi Allen story arc when you were supposed to be his backup band, and he was supposed to, record his vocals, but he didn't manage to do so. It never actually happened. But 2 years ago, you finally, from what I understand, released an EP with this material, but with a different guy on vocals. So what made you want to do to, go back to this story and make it happen? And was it just a one-time thing, or are you guys planning to do this more often on a regular basis? Because I know that there is also a Christmas song you released, and this is not something I'd expect from you like anytime, but it happened.
So this happened because our old friend Malcolm Tent, the bass player of Anti-Scene, called me and he said, I'm doing this like Gigi Allen tribute type stuff, and could you meet me at this address and put down some like drum tracks, and we're going to get all the people that used to maybe jam with Gigi, maybe one of those guys from another state will play guitar on this track or something like that. And I said, sure. So I met him, and it turned out it happened to be the singer P.P. Duvet of the Murder Junkies, his house. And it was a weird coincidence that he literally lived like 10 minutes from me. I wasn't in touch with him or anything. Yeah, I knew about him, of course. And we actually went to the same high school. He was a lot younger than me, but I kind of found that out later. And then he did some vocals on some covers, but did not want to really cover. He wanted to write new material for Murder Junkies and Bloody Apostles. And I kind of wanted to do our version of covers of old Gigi stuff. So like, you know the whole story, but like when I was like compiling a list for the Bloody Apostles back and forth with Gigi, he said, I don't really give a shit. Pick out what you like and we'll do that. And I said, all right, but it's got to be like, we're going to hit harder, tighter, and faster than your other kind of shitty backup bands. And he goes, fine with me. You know what I mean? And then when he was done, he just like hung up. So what I wanted was like these fast hardcore bands that we grew up listening to, like kind of negative style hardcore. I wanted that type of shit with Gigi on vocals and me writing the lyrics. And unfortunately, he broke the microphone, never sang on it. Something happened to the 4-track. And then when we did the Bloody Apostles 7-inch with PP, again, that did not come out how I envisioned it. So I'm not 100% against it. I like the 7-inch, but it was not the style that I wanted the Bloody Apostles to be in. So when the stars align again, I'm going to have to redo it the final way that I wanted it to come out.
Okay, so there is a certain future where this happens, and
yeah.
Okay, I gotta say, because now that you said that it's not quite there yet, it made me super curious, because that sound is nasty. The sound on that EP is nasty. So I wonder what you have in mind.
Well, so that nasty sound, I had to fight to get to, because the other people in the project were more into this kind of, it's hard to explain, but there's like this Southern style that I was not a fan of.
But isn't like Malcolm playing with Profanatica like on bass? So it was a PP issue, or you guys had different dynamics? I know.
Yeah, different. Like we came from different worlds. We both listened to the same stuff, but so we had a problem like getting the guitar. Like it was kind of all three of us putting in our ideas and thoughts, and it was like kind of more arguments than not of like how it should sound. Like I kept turning up like the distortion on the guitar and bass, and they kept turning it down because they had like kind of different influences, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of surprising how much you can argue about the stuff that sounds so visceral and so raw, because I could swear it was like, one type of afternoon recording session, and I see that there is quite a lot of drama behind it.
Yeah, but and I'm like, guys, could this be heavy? And they're like, it is heavy, and I'm like, no, here's another word I'll bring up from the past: crust. So back in the like 90s, or even like probably Discharge days or a lot earlier, it meant something different than it does today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so that music was deep, heavy, and angry back in the day. So when I always say, like, I like old crust, everybody's like, what? And I'm like, no, I don't mean like the average fake kid with spikes in his jacket that he just did last night asking to borrow $400. I mean like that kind of sound and style with that heavy bass driven. So that kind of, at the time, actually, incidentally, staying on like the punk stuff, that at that time I was already had like the early Napalm Death before like Scum came out, was tape traded, and I had a copy of that, and that's what I wanted to kind of bring to the Bloody Apostles.
That way, that direction.
Yeah, not necessarily full on noise, but like that heavy production, the raw production, and like that mindset of intense energy.
Well, I hope one day we will finally get to hear the way you intended it. So,
yeah.
Going back to Profanatica, I watched the interview you did with Chris Garza, and it was magnificent. So, but there was one thing I want to ask about, because you talked about some attitude as well as spirituality behind Profanatica, and I wanted to ask what forged the ideological or spiritual core of the band, because what surprised me was the statement that even though your art is very blasphemous, offending people is not exactly your intent. It's not what you're going for. Rather, it's a nice bonus. And there were also some mentions of quantum physics and a certain intent or attitude that goes with playing certain sounds. And would you mind elaborating on that a bit?
I can't really talk about it other than, how about this? Each thought, I don't know if I said this on Garza, but each thought has an associated energy that's linked to that thought.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is not, this is going to be like hard for me to like explain, but so the camp that I originally come from is the camp of like James Randi Foundation, where he had $1 million up for grabs to anybody that could do anything supernatural. And it's been going on since the late 60s, and nobody's even come close. So I think for the most part, it's kind of bullshit.
So like this is this I don't know, this hyper rationality.
Yeah. So this like quantum mechanics, and I'll just say a little bit of NLP mixed in, neurolinguistic program, is maybe the closest thing to real magic that I've seen. And it's pretty like old knowledge. And it's kind of like, it's been around forever, and only kind of certain people that are in the know that might believe it. I mean, you could do anything or say anything to fool yourself, right? Especially nowadays, like with people choosing sides and making up their minds really fast without looking into it. So this might be the only kind of thing that I'm sure there's other stuff. The thing that I know about that would give it some merit in what we choose to put into our music. You know, like somebody could be like, let's hit our instruments harder. You're like, okay, let's have a better production. Okay, like this is just a little bit extra behind the scenes stuff that I like to do live. Of course, we're thinking certain thoughts while we're going through our set as like a three-piece. And there's certain breathing that we do that goes along with that. And I don't like to share it because like we know about it and kind of that's enough.
Yeah, I understand and respect that part, you know.
But
I get it.
When somebody says, though, like, I have secret occult knowledge and I'm privately doing this, to me, in my head also, as like coming from my background that I did, I'm thinking, okay, not only is he full of shit, but he is rummaging around, looking around the room to see where he could buy cocaine, or this same person that talks shit like that can't go 10 minutes without refilling a giant beer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you take a look into the biographies of great occultists, you'll find out soon enough. Most of them were very slick with using the so-called occult powers to gain, well, very personal material.
So, like, I'll say this. So in terms of like Crowley, like what I find interesting about some of these people is that the way they handled certain situations. Like I find it interesting how he joined an organization one day and then the next day he became head of that organization.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so that kind of stuff interests me. His little rituals and all that stuff for me is like total bullshit. So like somebody's going to summon a demon, but that same person couldn't handle another human like screaming in their face and like pushing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to conquer this like phony baloney demon when they couldn't probably, most likely, couldn't handle somebody freaking out on them? They'd probably be like shaking in the corner. I don't know.
I think you explained
I'm just saying in a general sense.
So would you say that Profanatica is like a device using the religious imagery to position yourselves actually as super skeptics or you know, mockers?
Yeah, 100%. However, there is some stuff behind the scenes that could be considered real, or that we do use, like certain techniques. And I guess like if you want to look at the occult, like it's just hidden knowledge, right? And that does nothing unless you work it or do something with it. So, you know, like if me and you went to a show, we'd be able to, maybe we shouldn't be doing this, but let's say we're at a show and we see some guy or a girl and it'd be like, that person's a fucking poser. And you're like, agreed. Like, how do we actually know that? We just, training and experience teaches us that we have like probably a good idea that we're right. You know what I'm saying? So same thing with this.
Even though I don't like the word poser, I know that's the thing posers say.
I know,
but yeah, I know what you mean. That gut feeling that, you know.
I started using that word again because I used to use it in the 80s, like when it first came out. And now you could just say like fake or whatever. And I started using it, but I told J-Dog, I don't care about posers. And he goes, either do I, dude. And I'm like, are you sure about that? He goes, yeah. Because I'm like, I don't come in contact with anybody that annoys me like that during my daily life. You know what I mean?
Why would you do this to yourself?
And there's a new word. I don't know if you guys have it over there called a punisher. Do you know what that is?
Punisher, like the comic book?
No, this is some secret occult knowledge I'll share with you. A punisher is somebody that you have signed all their shit. You took a picture with them and you spent a lot of time with them. and then they still won't kind of go away. They're not self-aware. They'll come back to you 10 minutes later and they'll want the same experience all over again. And they don't know when to leave, and they'll eat up hours of your time. It might be more. I saw it once
Sticky
in Italy.
Steve.
Is that an actual person?
No. Like someone who is very, I don't know, persistent and socially unaware, right? So
Yeah. Is that your term for it?
No, I just, made it up.
Okay.
But the Punisher is something I need to look up, because this really, really seems like a occult piece of knowledge.
Totally.
I think enough about posers. I don't have that many questions left, but
okay.
I'm curious about the other part of your life in terms of artistic endeavors, because I think it's not that much talked about, but you also do some layouts, some cover arts, and from what I've researched, Discogs or Metal Archives, most of them were done for PROFANATICA, but I'm curious if you're more active in that field. What are your influences? What pushed you to do that? Because I think one of the earliest examples was the logo for Seraphic Decay Records.
Yeah.
But if you could, shed some light on this particular part.
So I drew a lot of our early artwork, because there wasn't really a lot of artists back then that would do it for us. And it cost way more money at the time than we had. So we kind of just had to piece stuff together to make it work. Now, nowadays, a lot of people like my old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not like skilled at it. Like, let's say Moyen is, or somebody that does like pen and ink stuff. It's not really, I like doing it, but it's not kind of what I want to do. I kind of needed to do it at a necessity more than anything else back in the day. And now, since so much time has gone by, people are like, whoa, that was sick that you did that, And I'm like, it really looks kind of childish to me. But people seem to like it.
I can see the charm, because I think the skill set is secondary in certain fields. Like, I don't know if it's the best comparison here, but I don't know how much into fantasy or role-playing games are you, but
I'm not.
You're not, but okay,
but I'm aware of it, though.
Yeah, so let me tell you this. Right now there is a huge resurgence in approaching role-playing games or tabletop games with a vintage, old-school mindset, and people are really, really digging the old artworks like that were illustrated like 80s or something like that. Because back then the creators maybe didn't exactly have the professional skill sets, but you really could see that they knew what they were going for, and there was passion behind it, and perhaps also some limitations, because they had to figure out some stuff on their own. But there is definitely a charm in more crude outputs as well. So
that's true. If you say it's secondary, I like looking at it like that, as long as the idea is pretty good.
So these days, you're not that much into it anymore, or?
I mean, a lot of people have asked me to do stuff, like come up with stuff. I'm actually still, it's been a couple of years, I have to finish it, doing a shirt design for Watain in that style.
Oh.
Yeah, and I kind of actually started it. I did their like trident done in my style with those like black and white cobweb type things. I'm just creating like demons to go around it.
By the way, and I might be spilling bullshit here, didn't they announce they are going to they will.
I heard that.
Yeah, they are going to record the Lost album and call it quits, from what I've heard, like 3 weeks ago. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. I didn't actually see the message, but I had just heard about it.
Yeah, I heard about it too. I was, mentioning. Never mind, brain fart.
But those guys, like at least Eric, if something comes out and it's a demo and it's good, he knows about it for sure. So he's into black death metal.
He knows his black metal.
He does. He likes it. So I would say it's not like
even the American one.
Yeah. Like there was I could say about him that he told me that time in the early 90s was kind of important for him and the crucial, like when Immolation came out and Incantation, and then Us and Agoraphobia was already established, playing a couple shows before we went down there and played with them. So he is a fan of that kind of Seraphic Decay, those bands that he was putting out at the time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suspect that from the music they make.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, of course, like most black metal people, they listen to all different types of shit, or at least like it or have knowledge of it. I'm more close-minded. I don't hear something new and be like, oh, this sucks. But I could tell if I like it in the first couple of seconds. Like the triggered bass drums, 6 and 7 members. I'm like, get the fuck away from me with that.
You're the power trio guy, okay?
Yeah. Or 4 if you want 2 guitarists to play like real death metal. I mean, and then it depends. Like somebody might just want to do vocals. So there could be like 5 members.
So 5 is a stretch, but still legit. But the 6, okay.
I mean, the Sodom and Hellhammer were 3-piece.
Sure.
And honestly, so was Rush, if you think about it. So they could cover all bases with just 3 guys. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't even know what kind of music it is or what labels are putting it out, but there's a lot of female fronted bands now.
And like the Napalm record stuff, all this symphonic stuff, the dress ups, we are like Vikings, the Knights, the whatever, pirates.
And again, you've heard me say this, like people could do whatever they want to. They're totally free and they should do what they want to. And there's only one thing that's going to happen. They're going to get very good at it because they like it. You kind of do what you like, period. But just don't bring it around me. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to see any CDs of that. You know what I mean? Like, it's the scene isn't even really a scene anymore, but there are people that still kind of keep the old flame. And I guess like the newer people, I guess the old flame and the gatekeepers, they had passion for it. And you could tell immediately if somebody doesn't have passion for it.
Yeah, but, you know, going back to the poser discourse and the symphonic bands, whatever, you know, this more merry-go-round metal where they're dressed up as Vikings and so on and so on. I think, actually, that musical qualities aside, of course, this probably is one of the least performative genres, or rather fandoms, of people who listen to that stuff, because they know it's cheesy. They know they are for purely entertainment with this music. So there's no, I think, pretense or something. And if there is one thing I appreciate such cheesy music for, it's definitely the purity of joy, I'd say. Yeah.
Sure. And if they like it, the people that listen to it like it, that's fine too.
So are you keeping up like with the new releases from the fields you are, you know, keen to? So
I mean,
because
yes and no. Like nothing black metal like that comes out. You know, I haven't heard anything in a while. Maybe Nightbringer and Ackley's was the
it's been a while. I mean, no, last year Ackley's released the House of Geminus last year, I think.
Yeah, I like that. They're doing something kind of different. If any new band has like a new release, I'll check it out. But nothing that, and I'm not saying people's new stuff isn't good. A lot of people like their new stuff, and they should, because that's like where the band rose to, and that's kind of where they are now. But I'm not one that like only likes bands' old stuff. but with the new stuff has to have the old spirit for me.
And that old spirit would be, if we try to define it, capture the incapturable.
Like the idea of the band when it originally started. So, like, in my opinion, the demo you should be able to tell who it is. Like everybody's demo sounds way different than their like fourth or fifth album, let's just say. And I like the early demo because it was like no outside influences. The band's kind of like their first go around. Like, this is what they like to play. And I guess that spirit is like, we play with like a lot of bands, and that some of them are bad, some of them are good. But I could tell when they don't believe in their own shit. And they don't have like that kind of passion.
Okay, but I'm glad
Well, what I'm saying is like they have to like believe in themselves and have to be honest with themselves. If they don't have to be honest with me, but if they're not honest with themselves, I'm going to see it immediately.
Sure. I know what you mean, and I'm glad that you mentioned the being a very your own being, or rather the lack of influences, or trying to being as honest and as direct, I think would be the term to put it, with putting your stuff into whatever artistic output, because I'm meandering, sorry. What I'm getting at, in the interview with Chris Gaza, you've mentioned that while it shouldn't be a really, really gruesome, very thorough research, like most metalheads, most newcomers to this genre should do the homework on a basic level. Listen to classics from Chuck Berry through Sabbath through Slayer, and while part of me wholeheartedly agrees with that sentiment, I'm also kind of, how do you want to be original if you require from the newcomers to, do the homework? And the homework is the same every single time, because, the classics won't change, like it's something already established.
No, for sure. But they should, I'm not saying they should study it, but I think they're required to go back and at least look at it. They're not going to go back to, like, for instance, how Chuck Berry, AC/DC is that. It's just a souped up version of that. So when people go back and check that out, they shouldn't, if they have their own souls, be like, oh shit, now I have this AC/DC riff stuck in my head and I have to play it. You know what I mean? That for me is like the weakness. So like you could live with that stuff for years and still not have it leak into your own music. Here's another thing. There's a difference between influences and copying.
Sure.
And that's one of my main gripes about the US bands that are like, oh, we're US black metal, but it's like a phony fake copy of what is being done in Europe. And all I'm saying is we have the same thing here, but ours is better and it has more bass and a little more balls. So that's kind of like where black death metal, in my opinion, should be like.
Yeah, I hear you. Although my understanding of US black metal is, I think, quite different because of the, age difference, I think, and the time when I came up to discover this music, because I see the thing you're describing as one thing, like the early 90s stuff, like Demoncy, Black Witchery, you guys, the Thou Shalt Become, and so on, and later iterations of American black metal, which are quite different from what's going on in Europe, like even solo projects like Leviathan, or the Cascadian stuff like Wolves in the Throne. Although I'm assuming these are the Forest and Torches guys that you are referring to.
That's stupid, and I think the Moon is stupid too.
I'm very partial to Moon.
I like the sun. So there's that band from Poland, Migwa. Let's just take them, right?
Sure.
So they're awesome at what they do. Great musician, great songwriting. The production is key. Like they're top quality. And you have some like phony baloney bands from the US that are just copying that sound and style, right?
Oh yeah, there are quite a bunch.
Yeah, so that there's no influences there, meaning it's insincere. They're just kind of copying it. The influences are you sat with that music for a couple of years and it's built into you. And when I say go research old metal, like where it came from, it's not going to, it shouldn't, if you look at it from like a scholar, it shouldn't soak in. So if somebody wants to go back and look at how like blues turned into rock, and then rock turned into hard rock, then heavy metal, then thrash and speed and Black Death, right? You're just kind of looking at it. That's what I say is like required. So there's a giant difference between like the influences are stuff you kind of had when you first heard something or as a kid, and they're like built in already. You can't really get rid of them. You know what I mean? Like my drumming style, I got a lot of shit, believe it or not, from Clive Burr from Maiden.
Yeah, I could believe that because first of all, I'm cheating. I'm cheating because I heard the interview. I heard you talking about the Iron Maiden song when he's doing in live version basically D-beat before the D-beat ever came to be. But yeah, I can definitely hear that.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I got that. And of course, like when I was younger and still now, Tommy Aldridge was one of my favorite drummers. So a lot of my fills and the stuff that I do that people like, I've been doing since I was like 13. And there's nothing special about it. It's just like souped up rock drumming, kind of. But I guess what people like, and I kind of feel stupid saying this, like the fans of the work that I do, is that how I implement it and when and how many times I do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that I guess is different than most drummers. Like you probably heard me in a couple of interviews say like the drummers now, the young kids are highly skilled. I mean, their feet and their hands are unbelievably good, but they have like a real low drumming IQ, I think, as to like, you could tell they learned how to do that almost like a trick that somebody would learn in a couple of years versus like 30 years where it's kind of built in and you're seasoned.
Yeah, I think it depends, on whether you are sort of professionally trained and, self-taught, because I had this problem with guitar. I went to music school for classical guitar, and when I picked up electric guitar, I had really, really huge problems with the simplest shit like playing the chords, just the campfire songs. It was inconceivable to me because I was used to doing this very complex, fingering right and left hand, synchronizing it all, but the groove, the sort of loose improvisation, even the simplest one, was something that I was not taught, and I didn't learn to think like that about the instrument.
There's lots of different ways to approach it, right? Just like everything else. So these new drummers that'll do like incredibly fast blast beats and then incredibly fast double bass. I'm not saying that's all they could do. What I mean by the low IQ of drumming is cymbals are accents. That's it. That's what they're made for. And you could say, yo, but Paul, this guy's putting cymbals where they don't belong, but he doesn't care. And then I would say he does care. He doesn't know any better. You know what I'm saying? There's no like, fuck you, I'll do like fills that have no business being in that part of the song, because it's like that, back to what I said, like that
so
punk rock attitude.
Because, so it's not about...
Yeah. So, and I could see that a mile away. And I'm not saying all these guys are trying to fool everybody, but a lot of bands at least in America, are doing that bullshit. And I could see it right away. So these bands that do that stuff, if you pay close attention to them without me mentioning any names, they become huge sensations and have like amazing amounts of followers on social media. But they don't have their own kind of style or even like back to that, like there's no soul to it. So they're not going to be around very long. And now they're wondering, hey, what happened? We used to play at giant places and now we're playing at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Like they still want to do it and they should be allowed to do it. But the whole thing is like kind of fake to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if suddenly,
yeah, I mean, I had this thing with deathcore vocals. The first time I heard deathcore song as a kid, I was like, "Oh my god, this guy sounds like a fucking monster from a video game or a movie." It's powerful. His presence is immense. And then I heard another deathcore song and another one from a different band, but all these vocalists sound exactly the same.
Yeah, it's the same effects on the vocals. It's the same samples for the snare.
Of course, I might be ignorant here, and if somebody who listens to deathcore much more than I do, they are I'm happy to be corrected in the comment section.
I mean, I don't even think I've heard deathcore properly. I know like we have like Sirius Radio here, and Ian Christie is a show Roots, and it's pretty good. And he'll play like old. He'll go do like themes, like this is the demo days of like Swedish death metal, and play like the Nihilist demos, and then he'll do like all like Brazilian bands on one of his shows and play like old Sarcophago and old Sepultura tracks. So, but his show is like the exception to the rule. There's other shows on that and they play only new stuff. And it's just god awful to my ears. You know what I mean? It's like just so stripped down and like sanitized. And for me, that like just takes all the balls out of it. Whereas like, all right, let's say Profanatica comes to like, when we get to Poland, if I start a conversation of the new bands, nobody there would be cool with even talking about it. They'd be like, what the hell are you? I don't want to talk about these guys. You know what I mean? So that's another thing. Like the fans of that, if they truly like it, that's cool. But they're not what I call like in the know. And that brings us back to going back to research. How did this music start? Here's the pioneers. It doesn't mean that they were better than today, because I will listen to some new stuff if it's done properly. It just means like that's where it came from. Those people, the new bands, they have no roots. How's that? And I could say that it's a mile away. Yeah.
I think it's quite more difficult to have roots with given how the music is distributed and discovered in the modern era, because a lot of metal I discovered, I didn't discovered it in a chronological order. So, for example, when I heard Cephalic Carnage when I was I don't know 16, it's I don't know if you're familiar. They are
I know who they are. Yeah.
Okay, so I love them, but I heard them, for example, before Morbid Angel or before Immolation, earliest records. And so when I actually got to discover Morbid Angel or Immolation, they didn't make such an impression as they would made on me if I was to discover them in a chronological order. So
I know what you mean. There's that portion of it too.
Yeah. And I'd say it takes more time to actually discover what your musical identity is. What is it that you're actually after? Because there's so much stuff going on. There's so many new releases every single day. So I don't know, maybe in a way you guys had it easier because you you had only selection of records to
Yeah, I mean, I
bond
was
with,
there when it started. Yeah, I was there when it started, and if you, the older guys will know that if you paid money for something, you would kind of try to like it, because it wasn't easy. You'd have to get your parents to drive you to the record store, and they'd be like, "Hurry up." You know what I mean? You'd have to save up whatever money you had, birthday money or Christmas, and not everybody had the good shit too. Like I was kind of fortunate enough to have like a good record store like 20 minutes away, and then another one like 45 to an hour away, and we'd only get to go like twice a year kind of thing, But I guess that we were starved for it as the whole thing was unfolding, from metal to really heavy stuff, to thrash to death metal. Like I was there watching it unfold, and I get what you mean about going back and not having like the older stuff not hit you as hard, right? Because if you listen to that and Morbid Angel and you go back and listen to Venom, you're not going to be like shocked.
Exactly. And for the people who heard Venom when it came out, it had to be
it was kind of shocking.
Thunderbolts coming down the sky.
Yeah, and those guys, I mean, there was a lot of like kind of punk riffs hidden in that.
So moving on a bit, I wanted to ask, do you have a huge, social media presence, awareness? Because I've browsed your Instagram as a sort of professional habit, as I'm in marketing in my day job, and you're quite active, at least with the promotional stuff. So I'm curious how personally active you are with social media and so on.
I mean, I try. If somebody, I'm active, I'm on it every day. But right now, because of our upcoming tour, we have a person handling it for us. Because I tend to miss a lot of, and I apologize when people want me to like accept posts and share them. A lot of times I'll see it and go to get it and hit accept, like events and such, and then I can't find it once I click on it. Like it seems to disappear and not offer me the button that says like accept and or decline. You know what I mean? So I have somebody like
I know
answering all like that. I don't know why. It makes me kind of crazy. And when we're going from one gig to another in the van, and then people
the internet is breaking up. You don't know if it went through or it didn't. I know what you mean.
And then people are like, yo, I'll need this information. Like either the tour manager or the promoters, they'll be like, get me this information and alphabetize it and do all this stuff. And I'm just like, I can't. My mind is not focused on this. Like I'm focused on kind of playing, and that part of my brain is not even working now. So I get like kind of stressed.
If it's any consolation, it can be as confusing and annoying for people who handle it professionally, because meta is just awful when it comes to user experience. Okay, so last but not least, I know that probably you hate this question being asked, and I'm guessing it's asked in every single interview you've done, I don't know, for the last 3 months or so, but I have to. You made quite some headlines this summer, and not exactly in the media that cover niche, underground, cult stuff, but even if in the bigger outlets, and the headlines were related to certain merchandise you were selling during your shows. Do you want to talk about it, or are you tired with the subject?
No, I could talk about it. I mean, I think I sold like 4 or 5 of those little vials.
4 or 5 handmade products. What would you say was without naming names and a specific target demographics for this product?
I wasn't. So I'll tell you this, somebody from like a metal museum bought one.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? And let me see. Somebody else who bought another one was from a pretty big band that you might be surprised if I told you the name. Okay. And then a couple of other ones were just like fans. I think one other girl got one and one guy got one. but everybody was like ID'd, and it was kind of like good promotion. But there were some people like freaking out about it, and that goes back to like the people that like were kind of freaking out about it. They have nothing going on in their lives. Like that's all I got from them freaking out. Not that they were really disgusted by it, but they were pretending to be offended. And for me, that's the worst.
But like, what was the problem? Because I can imagine someone being disgusted by it, like no problem, or I don't know, maybe sanitary concerns because you don't. Somehow, I'm guessing you didn't exactly store it like you would in, I don't know, hospital or something.
No, I went right from the bathroom to the merch table, which was metal as fuck and badass, I thought.
Oh, fuck. Were it after the show shots or pre-show shots?
Pre-show.
Pre-show. Okay.
Pre-show. And actually, this is the most insight I've given. There was a couple, they were all pre-show. And I think only one time I got to kind of take my time at the hotel, like in the morning. I was there for like 3 hours watching TV by myself. So I was like, all right, this is time. But other than that, it was like before doors, like under the gun.
Well, there was a pressure, but you delivered.
I did. There was pressure, especially when there was nowhere to hide. You know what I mean? Like, you know, these doors in the venues, like you can't like go in like
you're lucky if there even is doors. So like
exactly, that type of shit. But do you get what I'm saying? Where the people like were pretending to be offended?
Yeah, I think I know what you're getting at. But when did this idea actually came to life? Like, what prompted this? Idea, because this is what I'm curious about. Of course, it's very in line with what you're doing as PROFANATICA. Like, there is probably a dozen song titles with word "come" in them.
Yeah.
So it had to happen at some point, or I don't know.
Yeah, it was talk as like a joke in the van, but as our guitar player says, like you got to be careful what you say around Paul because he'll actually make it happen. Somebody is like goofing around, like we should do this or we should do that. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? We actually could do that. Where a normal person would be like, you're joking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So that's it. I don't think there's need to do it again.
So it was one time these four lucky people.
Maybe, unless I got like a pretty good offer. We'll see how like our run over there goes.
Oh yeah, I think people in Europe are hungry too for the limited merch.
That's great. So yeah, what else you got?
I think we've arrived to the conclusion. Actually,
okay.
I've learned what I needed and more.
Okay, good.
But of course, if there are some words that you have to share at the very very ending, to the stage is yours, the mic is yours.
Okay, I'll just say that as of right now, we didn't really touch on it, and I'm kind of glad because I want to keep it separate. But I am in the studio currently for new Have a Hedge full length on Hell's Headbangers.
That is one thing I wanted to ask about. Do we have to wait another 10 years? I'm so glad we don't.
No. And as of right now, I'll tell you, it's pretty damn good. When I like create this, it's about 2.5 to 3 hours for about 2 minutes of music. That's about as fast as I could kind of create it in the studio. Even though I have everything all planned out, it's really time consuming to get the result that I want. And in 2026, there will be like a first real Have a Hedge live. That's all I could say about it.
Oh, sure. Oh, that's some exciting news. Thank you for dropping this cliffhanger at the end.
Otherwise, I'm pretty vague about it.
Okay.
A lot of people ask me about it, and I just kind of gloss over it.
Then I even more appreciate sharing the news. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, man. Good talking to you.
Good talk, and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.